وأعوذ به من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد والثناء لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا عبد القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما سيدي ومولاي بقية الله الدين روحي وأرواح العالمين لهم فداه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's an honor, it's a pleasure. I've heard so much about this center, but unfortunately never had the chance to come visit. And alhamdulillah, this holy month, I was able to finally come and visit you guys over here. So thank you for having me. Alhamdulillah, it's a pleasure to be here. So what I think they decided to set up was that we'll do a short, and I think with time being pretty late, I'm going to try to make it pretty short, and then just I'm going to share some reflections with you, brothers and sisters, and then inshallah open it up for Q&A. So we'll give priority to questions about which relate to whatever we've talked about, but if there's none of those, then we can move on to other questions as well. With considering how much time we have, inshallah. One of the things that our faith, our religion, our sect especially, that is based on is on the love of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. A masjid isn't really a masjid of perfectness. That's standard, so don't feel bad, it's pretty standard. No masjid has perfectness, alhamdulillah. So one of the basic tenets, or one of the basic principles that our religion, or our sect at least, is based on is the love of the Ahlul Bayt. And that is something that you almost across the board, when you ask someone who's a follower of the Imams, a follower of Amir al-Mu'mineen, a follower or a Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen, one of the things that's pretty standard is the love for the Holy Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. Considering that, there's a hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wasalam, where he says, "Man ahabbana falya'mal bi'amalina." Whoever loves us, they should act according to our actions as well. So one of the things we understand from this is that Amir al-Mu'mineen والسلام, and all of his sons and his brother, the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they have an expectation. They have an expectation from me and you. They don't believe in just empty words. They're saying, "Man ahabbana," whoever claims that they love us, whoever claims that they're our follower, whoever claims that they're Shia of Ali and the sons of Ali, whoever claims that they're a lover of Imam Hussein, and so on and so forth, whoever claims that they're a lover of Imam al-Zaman and awaiting the reappearance of Imam al-Zaman, all of those people, man ahabbana, whoever loves us, فَلْيَعْمَلْ بِعَمَلِنَا, we have an expectation of you, that you act according to our actions. So empty words are not going to fly. That's basically what he's saying. That if you just say that I love you, but it doesn't reflect in your actions, it's not me, is it me? No, okay. Yeah, so there's an expectation. Now considering that, right, keep that in mind, that we can't just say that we love them without having to prove it, that's one thing. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in one of the hadith he says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. The reason that I've been sent, this reason that the Bi'sat happened, the reason that I was sent as a messenger was what? لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. To ensure that the people, that the followers, their akhlaq is raised to a certain level. It's elevated. That these are not just your average Joes. These are people I was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so I can elevate these people to the level that they are made for, meaning the level that they should be pursuing is looking at the Holy Prophet, looking at Amir al-Mu'mineen, looking at the Imams, and setting that as our goal, and inshallah trying to pursue that. So keep that as number 2, right? Number 1, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Number 2, what the Holy Prophet says. Number 3, Imam Sayyid alayhi salatu wassalam, in dua in Sahif al-Sajjadiyah, right? Sahif al-Sajjadiyah, dua number 20, which is dua Makarim al-Akhlaq. Right? So you see the connection. The Prophet saying the reason I'm sent is for Makarim al-Akhlaq. Imam Sayyid alayhi salatu wassalam has a dua by the name of Makarim al-Akhlaq. I just want to share the first line of that dua with you. Right? Just the first line. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa alihi. So he starts off with salawat on the Holy Prophet and his progeny. And then he says, he's praying to Allah. It's a dua. وَبَلِّغْ بِإِمَانِ أَكْمَلَ الْإِيمَانِ. And oh Allah, make my iman, make my faith, make my belief أكمل الإيمان, the most complete of imans. وَاجْعَلْ يَقِينِي أَفْضَلَ الْيَقِينِ. And oh Allah, make my yaqeen, make my certainty the highest of the certainties, the best of the certainties. أفضل اليقين. وانتهي بنيتي إلى أفضل النيات. And oh Allah, make my intentions the best of intentions. وبعملي إلى أحسن الأعمال. And make my actions the best of actions. So this is what the Imam starts off with, and it goes on. It's a pretty long dua. I just want to talk about this part. There's 4 things that the Imam is talking about over here. Right? He's talking about iman, which is faith, which is believing in something. He's talking about yaqeen, which is certainty. He's talking about niyyah, and he's talking about... Is there anyone who's over it? I knew I was gonna come to you at the end because I can always rely on you, Ali. Thank you. Action, right? So let me repeat that. Iman, yaqeen, niyyah, and action. Okay, there we go. I won't do that to you again. Okay, you guys go back, relax, put your guards down. I won't do that again. So over here, what we understand from this order that the Imam has put over here is that there's a relationship between them. Let me ask you a question. Right? Let me ask you a question. When you talk about Iman, you talk about believing in something. Does it make sense that that's the first step, or should there be something before that? Before you believe in something. I'm sorry?
To know somebody.
Exactly, to know, right? To know. So you need to have knowledge. Right? You need to know something. You need to know that there's a God, for example, before you can believe in a God. You need to know that there's a friend that exists before you can believe in their friendship, and so on and so forth. So you need to know, right? So that we understand. First step is knowledge. We need to gain knowledge. Second is what? We need to believe in that. Third is yaqeen. We need to have certainty in that. You know that famous story about Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he says, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how do you bring dead back to life? Things that are dead, how do you bring back to life? And Allah asks him, he's like, أَفَلَا تُؤْمِنُ? Do you not believe? Iman, right? Number 1, remember? Iman. Do you not believe, O Ibrahim? He says, of course I do. وَلَكِنَّ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. Right? So my qalb, my heart, can reach itminan. When someone asks Imam Rida alayhi salatu wasalam, what does that mean? Someone asked him, wait, the Prophet of God, was there shak in his heart? Did he have doubt in his heart? And the Imam says, of course not. He's a prophet. Of course he didn't. But he wanted an increase in the level of his certainty, an increase in the level of his yaqeen. See how it's all coming together? Same thing. Iman. Iman is just believing. Then Imam is asking for the highest levels of Iman. Then there's yaqeen. So this is, all of this that's happening is in my mind, right? Is there something outwardly about my Iman? Is there anything outwardly about my yaqeen? No, it's not. It's a man. What about my niyyah, my intention? My intention, right? Whenever you want to do something, you need to have an intention to do it, right? What we understand from this order that Imam is talking about is the niyyah, the intention that I have of doing something is also based on my knowledge, on my iman, and on my yaqeen. Unless I have a knowledge that there is a God, unless I have a knowledge that there's a God who is just, unless I have a knowledge that there is a God who is just, who is worthy of worship, and then I actually believe that, and then I actually have certainty in that, can I have a niyyah? Of course I can have a niyyah, even if I don't have those things. But the level of my niyyah, how good my niyyah is, how weighty my niyyah is, how deep my niyyah is directly proportional to my knowledge, my iman, and my yaqeen. After I've figured out the niyyah, that the niyyah is directly related to that, then we consider the last hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, where he's saying, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that verily your actions, their worth is based on your niyyah. Your actions is, the worth of your actions is based on your niyyah. So now, keep that in mind. Another hadith that says, اليوم عمل ولا حساب والغدا حساب ولا عمل. Today is your day for action. Today is your day for action. You can act and there's no hisab. You can go around doing whatever you want. Whatever you want. If you skip namaz, do you see God coming and telling you, hey, you can't do that? No, He doesn't. He says, go ahead. You don't want to pray? Don't pray. You want to do something wrong? Do something wrong. You don't want to listen to your parents? Don't listen to your parents. Right? There's only amal. You're smiling. Are you one of those people who doesn't listen to your family? Are you? No. Yeah, don't be one of those people. Right? Today there's amal, there's no hisab, there's no accounting, but tomorrow, guess what? Your account closes. There is no more amal, there is no more action. There's only hisab. There's only accounting. Go back to the first hadith. Amir al-Mu'mineen. Man ahabbana faly'amal bi'amalina. Whoever loves us, is that enough? No, there's amal. So the only thing that truly that you can bank on is what? Is your amal. Is only the action. If you just sit there and say, I have the niyyah, I have the intention of praying, is that good enough?
No.
If you have the intention of being the best Muslim in the world, does that matter?
No.
Maybe it has something to it, but unless there's action, right? It's all about action in Islam. Unless you act, nothing's registered. But is it only action though? It's not only action. What is the action based on? What my niyyah is. What is my niyyah based on? How good my yaqeen is. What is my yaqeen based on? If I even have an iman. What is my iman based on? If I have knowledge. Now consider that. Consider all that. Now come back to yourself. Come back to your community. Come back to our society. Everyone for ourselves, right? I come here in Shahr Ramadan. I spend all this time commemorating the Shahada of Amir al-Mu'mineen. I come in Muharram, I commemorate the Shahada of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. I come around the year, I commemorate the birthdays and the Shahadats of these noble personalities. So this is an action I'm doing. Okay, fair enough. But where's the niyyah? How much niyyah is there? What do I know about these people? How much certainty do I have in that? Do I actually believe when they say something? Do I actually change my life based on what they say? Let me give you a small example, right? So we've been doing Muharram for how many years? 20, 50, 60, 80, right? Everyone, depending on. How many of us can, in a nutshell, say what the purpose of that revolution was? One, knowledge. How many of us can say that we understand it and we believe in it? Iman. How many of us can say that we have yaqeen in it, we have certainty in it? 3. How many of us can say that yes, all of that, whatever it was that the principle that Imam Hussein stood for, I act according to that principle? How many of us can claim that? How many of us can claim that Imam Hussein's, whatever his purpose was, what were his actions? His actions was to be able to sacrifice anything and everything in the way of Islam. Was it not? Did he keep anything back? He sacrificed everything. How many of us are willing to sacrifice? Not everything, but just this much, or this much, or this much, or this much. Right? So what's important over here is we can't just claim that we're the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt. There needs to be action. So there's two sides of the coin. One is that I claim that I love Ahlul Bayt and they will give me a free pass and I'm going to go to Jannah. Guess what? That's not what Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying. He's claiming something else. What about the other side? That, this person, he does really good things, they're a really good person, they just don't believe in God. They just don't believe in the Ahlul Bayt. Well, guess what? That action is fine, but the action is only worth how much their niyyah is worth. How can a person's niyyah be grounded if they don't even believe in a God? If they don't even understand the Ahlul Bayt? If they don't even understand so on and so forth? Right? So it goes both ways. We can't do actions without knowledge, without understanding, without having certainty and so on and so forth. And the other way as well. We can't just do niyyah of things, say that we do this, but without action. So it goes both ways. So what Islam expects from us is to go gain knowledge. Gain knowledge. Not gain knowledge as in, actually gain knowledge. Understand Allah. Understand all these things. I don't want to go into the details of that, but actually gain knowledge. It's usually, just to give you an idea, it's usually more than what you'll hear from the member. It's usually more than what you'll get in Sunday school. It's usually more than that. Right? The deeper the knowledge, the better the niyyah, the better the actions. What are we aiming for? We're aiming to become companions at the very least of Amir al-Mu'mineen, of his grandson. Can we be settling for only a Sunday school level of knowledge? Is that going to get us there? Something to think about. So I'd like to conclude then. They expect action of us, so we can't live life without action. Alhamdulillah, we're doing action, but the worth of the action is also based on how much we know, how much certainty we have in it, how much yaqeen we have in it. Do we believe in it or not? So may Allah inshallah give us the tawfiq to be able to understand Islam, to be able to understand Islam with a deep understanding, to be able to incorporate that into our lives, and inshallah be of the companions of our Imam, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
With this, we'll start Q&A session. So if anyone has question, I will pass mic over, or you can also write down. And if anyone has question related to the speech that Maulana gave, we'll give priority to that.
How can we, Iman is a very important course to deal with. For the faith, especially for parents, how can we make that more stronger with the Iman as well? Because they have questions like, you don't see it, you don't know. What's the evidence that it really is true?
Right.
Can you please repeat the question, because I think most of us didn't hear it.
Sure. Actually, we'll just pass the
Yeah.
mic around so I don't do injustice to the question.
Thank you.
It's okay. You can go ahead so I don't do injustice to your question. Pass it.
My question was for, as a parent, what can we do to make our iman stronger in our kids? Because they have questions like that we don't see it, or how can we know that it really is true or authentic when we try to have them, some basic things. So what can we do to make it, make their iman stronger so that it can be reflected in their actions in the future?
I think the first thing that we can do is strengthen our own iman. And I say that as a parent, and I know it's very difficult, but strengthen our own iman. When I talk about our own iman, I don't mean that, my kid might ask a question about how can I believe in God if I can't see Him. And I say, wait, I believe in God and I can't see Him. That's not truly the level of iman that we're aiming for. For example, let me give you a quick example, right? If I believe in God, if I believe in the justice of God, if I believe in the wisdom of God, right? Now we're getting into like a little deeper stuff, right? So for me to start having iman in God, I need to have that knowledge of God. I need to be able to first of all know that there's a God that exists. Not just that I can repeat it, but I can at step number one rationally be able to prove it to myself. That yes, I can rationally prove that there is a God. I can rationally prove that this God is just, that this God is the all-wise God. Okay? So, how does that reflect in my own life? I'm still talking about ourselves, right? Before we get to the kids. If my kid sees that if there's a problem that comes up in our life, and they don't see me have, is that too close? Is that what it is? If my kid sees, or it doesn't even matter about the kid, right? If my iman is not reflected, my quote unquote iman is not reflected in my actions. For example, there's a problem that comes up in life, and even if it's like the smallest thing, I get stressed out, or I lose my control, and all of those things that are signs of not realizing that, wait, it's okay, it's something small, God is there, right? That I depend on God, that this God, whatever test He puts me through, is the all-wise God, is the just God. He would never do anything that's unjust. He would never do anything that's against wisdom. For example, so these things, when these things are reflected in my life, and I'm not able to reflect iman in my own life, that's a sign that one of the things, perhaps, and that might be true for some and might not be true for some. It is very often true for myself. Where if I need to, the first and most important thing is, I need to have those traits to be able to pass them on. Because actions speak louder than words, right? And that's actually a hadith as well, where Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam says, كونوا دعاة لنا بغير ألسنتكم. Invite people towards us, but not with your tongues. I.e., meaning that with your actions. So that's number one. As far as iman, other than that, the same steps that we talked about for ourselves apply to our kids as well. Before they can have iman, right? A lot of times, the questions are like, wait, how can I believe in that? Right? But if they've actually gone, so that's just one example. If they've actually gone through a structured course of, for example, theology, where these discussions have happened, because whether you have it in your house or not, whether your child asks you or not, the reality is that every single child has those questions. Some are vocal, some are not. Some are, rebellious, some are not. But the questions are still there. The questions are still there. And it's our responsibility to make sure, as a priority, make sure that is priority number one in our community. Because that is the basis for everything. As we just saw, all of our actions, they're based on our knowledge. So, for example, a structured course of theology would at least give them the foundation to be able to say, okay, whatever question, how can I believe in something that I can't see? Maybe depending on who the teacher and how they explain, they might be like, wait, can you see your headache, for example? Just a very simple example. Can you see it? No, you can't. Can you feel it? Yes, you can. Is it there? Yes, of course it's there. Well, tell me it's there. And they'll be like, oh, it's hurting. You're like, no, I can't see anything. Right? Can you feel it? Same way you can say, yes, God exists. You might not be able to see him, but you can feel him. For example, I'm just giving a very small and easy example, but trying to make the point that the foundation is the knowledge, and it would be very, let me say one more very naive of us if we think that by just having these couple of majlises, all Muharram or 10 days or Ramadan or this and that our kids or even ourselves will be able to get that knowledge that we really need. It's not going to happen from the member. Sorry to break any hearts.
Pardon this, I'm just asking a very basic question. Pardon the triviality of the question, but I'm asking it in all seriousness. Today the Warriors won against Cavalier. And every kid knows. So a situation that most parents have is, do they choose to watch a Warrior-Cavalier game or to attend this session? And the likes of all examples like this, which happens throughout the year. Oh, is that a cowboy game? Oh, no, I'm not going to go to center. And it happens, oh, today is Ashura, or today is this. How do you make your kids choose Allah and everything?
I can't believe you said Warriors and Cowboys in the same sentence. Cowboys? People actually watch Cowboys games still? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I think it relates back to that thing, right? Understanding. First of all, I don't think it's the end of the world if no one watches a basketball game. I don't think so. For example, for today, right? We could have maybe said, hey, come here, we'll put the game on in the center, let's watch it together. And then I could have come and watched the game as well. I didn't get to watch a single game this season, right? It's okay, I don't think it's a big deal. But as far as making the choice when it comes down to it, I think goes back to that. As far as they're kids, I don't think it's a big deal. Right? If they're 8, they're 9, they're 10, they're 12, it's not that deep. But as long as those principles are being instilled in them, principles come from where? Come from the exact same thing again. That they need to have something like rationalized for them. They need proof for whatever they say. Right? Whatever you're telling them, they want proof for it. It's not going to fly. It's not like how they did with us, right? One chapel here, one chapel there, and you already believe in whatever they say, right? It doesn't work like that anymore. So I think that's number one. That's number one, that it needs to be rationalized. And then what my experience, right? I have a 9-year-old daughter. My experience is that sometimes I'll repeat something to her, and then I'll act as if she's ignoring me, and she's not really listening. But it shows very soon after that it is there. Because I'll see her saying the exact same thing to her younger sister. So it's there. And it's okay. It's okay if a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old at that point, decides, makes not the best decision in life. But as long as those values are instilled, I think eventually it will reflect. I think so. So I go back to that. I think step number one is still the knowledge. And then other than that, like being able to discuss these things, being able to see that where we need to draw the lines and where we don't need to draw the lines. The things that are not haram, yes, some of those things might not be a good thing to do or not ideal, but it's not always the case. Sometimes it truly is like very cultural, the things that, for example, let's say, recite us all, please. Okay, I get it. Right, stuff like, for example, I know back in the day they'd say, don't even wear yellow or don't even forget yellow. Don't even wear brown in Muharram, because it's like a dark kind of shade of yellow, and yellow is a bright color. And bright color means that you're happy, and you can't be happy in Muharram. It's not gonna fly. And there's nowhere in the traditions that I think you can find something like that. Yes, there is an emphasis on wearing black and showing your grief and all of that, but brown, like, it's a very far-fetched idea. So stuff like that, if that is something that was part of my culture and my household, and now, 40 years later, so that was like back in the homeland, and now 40 years later, my kid was like, in this environment, if I'm trying to